You guys know what it is. It's Coach Colin here, coolest high performance coach in the world, bringing you the absolute best insights to the podcast that you absolutely love. And if you want more of this, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. We're in Steven Pressfield. We're in the Joe Rogan Experience, Steven Pressfield's episode, his most recent episode, I should say, because I found out that he's actually been on the podcast more than once. So I'm actually going to look into that one as well. But this one is episode 1901. I got a link in the description if you want to jump off and just go watch that whole podcast right now. It's absolutely great on Spotify. This is a very interesting clip because Joe's talking about a tribe that was abducting early American settlers. And how when those settlers were retrieved, were rescued, they didn't want to go back to regular society. They wanted to stay with the tribe, right? We can call that Stockholm syndrome, but I think there's a little more to it. And the one thing that Joe said in this clip that really resonates or really stood out to me is like everybody who got kidnapped and brought into this tribe wanted to stay with the tribe, but nobody that was from the tribe wanted to go to regular society. And I really think that there is a deeper insight, a little more than what they're actually talking about in the clip that I'll get into after this. But yeah, let's just listen to this. It's really, really interesting that these people were getting kidnapped, and then when they were getting rescued, they were like, I don't want to go back with you. I want to stay. I want to stay with this tribe. Let's get into it.
One of the things that when I was reading I got into a kick for about a year and a half where I read many books about Native American culture and what happened when the settlers made their way across the United States. And one of the things that's fascinating is there was a bunch of people, whether they were trappers or soldiers or just regular civilians, that gave up on modern life and were incorporated into Native American cultures. They wound up living with the Native Americans. Some of them were even kidnapped by the Native Americans when they were young.
Yeah.
And then recaptured by the Americans and brought back to, quote unquote civilization. They all wanted to go back. They all wanted to go back. To a man.
Yeah.
No one from that tribe wanted to join modern civilization, but everyone from modern civilization wanted to be a part of that tribe.
Yeah.
Once they were incorporated in it and they lived that life for a while. There's something about it that was far more satisfying and far more. It resonated with them in a way that and even then, I mean, this is a very primitive society. We're talking about 1860s America, but that was not exciting. That was not satisfying. That was not what they wanted to do. They wanted to live off the land.
Yeah.
They wanted to be traveling.
Yeah.
Just, hunting buffalo.
Can we go back to that? I don't know.
I don't think we can
go back to that.
I don't think there's any going back.
But it does seem to be
there is
the way that the human being is the happiest.
Well, I think it's the way we evolved. And these human reward systems are just sort of ingrained in the fiber of our being.
Yeah.
And the reward systems there's a feeling that you get when you catch a fish. You ever go fishing?
I have, but I'm not good at it.
You don't have to be good at it, but there's a feeling that you get when you get a big fish on the line. It's so exciting. Well, what is that feeling? That feeling is you're going to be able to feed your family.
Yeah.
So you're rewarded for being successful at that with not just food, but also with this rush of endorphins and these great feelings. And that's what people pursue when they go fishing. And it's so much so that there's like a perversion of it where people do catch and release fishing just to get a thrill. So there's tournaments, and these guys go out there and they cast a line, and they even have a live well on their boat where they take the fish and they put it in this aerated pool on their boat where the fish stay alive so they can weigh them and win the tournament, and then they release them back into the lake, which is kind of crazy, right? But it's they've hijacked this feeling that you get that is a part of being a person, because that feeling was to reward you with being able to feed your family.
Yeah. And with it.
And and there's more to this clip, but what I think is happening in that instance, when people are being kidnapped, they're being reintroduced and they don't want to go back, I think it's because when you're in society in cities and whatever. When you're in society, you're not as needed. I think that's a big part of it. When you're a part of a tribe, like if you think back to what they're talking about, like, you know, Native American tribes, like the warriors were needed. You know what I mean? The fishermen were needed. The people who built the forts, they were needed. Like everybody was needed for the role that they were in. Whereas when you're in regular society and you're just doing like a regular job, I know back then it was like, you know, 1800, so it's like, it's a little different, but they probably felt so needed and so close in this tribe that they were like, why go back? Why go back to where I was not even necessary, to where I was ignored, to where I wasn't heard, I wasn't seen, I wasn't valued? Why go back there when I could be at this other place where I'm valued and I'm needed and I have a role and my role's important? And if I don't do it, nobody does. You know? Like if I don't go and hunt, you know, nobody eats. If I don't cook that food that the hunter brings back, you know, nobody knows how to do it. If I don't pick these certain plants and learn how they work, and then nobody gets healed when they get injured. Like you're so important when you're in a tribe. And I think that's a big part of why those people didn't want to go back. It's because they were so important. And also it's just, like Stephen Pressfield said, it's the way the human being is happiest. And I know that's hard to imagine for us now, because it's like you live in like a warm house and it's like, bro, could you imagine wintertime? You live outside, how in like crazy, but you toughen up. You would toughen up. You'd handle that. You'd be able to handle it. You don't think so? But after a couple of winters, you know, and a couple of toes falling off, you'd be able to handle it. You'd assimilate. You'd grow more hair. You'd get on your skin would be thicker. You'd be harder. You'd grow fat more where fat needs to be and when it needs to come in. Like you'd adapt. And I think yeah, just being needed. Because how good does it feel when you're valued? How good does it feel when somebody needs you? You know, that's what mothers love about babies. That's what husbands love about families. It's the fact that they're needed. They fill a role that nobody else can fill. Like that's the best feeling in the world. So when we go back to what Joe was saying about these processes, you know, how they hijack these processes when you're doing the whole catch and release thing. It's like, yeah, because it's like back in the day when you caught the fish, your wife wasn't catching the fish. Out of the question. Your children weren't catching the fish. Not until you taught them. And that was your son that you taught. It's like it all depended on you. I just think being needed is a big factor in this conversation. The value, you know, the value that you find when you're in a tribe. I just think that's a big thing. Let's hear what else is going on.
In the tribe,
yes,
where it's your uncle and your cousin and your daughter and your mom and everybody's together.
Everybody's together.
Yeah, like the movie Dances with Wolves. You know, you really got it. Really, they really hit that one, the nail on the head with that one.
Yes,
never seen it.
That's a great example of that with that
never
movie.
Seen it.
But you know, the reality of that life is so much more satisfying than the life of being a banker. Like when you're a banker, I'm not a banker, but I would imagine your reward is you're always looking for new things to buy, right? So you're making enough money that one day you're going to get a yacht. One day you're going to get that Ferrari. One day you're going to get that jet. One day you're going to get that bigger house. You're going to get to a point where, you know, hey, you make enough money, maybe you can buy an island. You're crazy? Like that's like if you got an island, like Tyler Perry has an island. Oh, he's balling.
balling in a dress, which is fine, I guess. You know, every actor puts on a dress. You ever looked into that? You ever Googled that? Check that out. Every actor, especially like black ones, they all like wear a dress. Check. You should type in Dave Chappelle, I won't wear a dress. You should type that in. Check that out. But I love that he brought that up. I completely forgot that this was in the clip when he brings up a banker. I think that's exactly what sparked this thought process that I had. as a banker, as a cashier at a grocery store, you're not needed. You know what I mean? It's like you're needed for the time that you're there, but if you decide I'm leaving, they just fill in your role immediately. Same with a cashier, same with a garbage man, same with anything, same with a YouTuber, same with anybody, right? Because there's so many of us here and we're not like a tribe, you know? We're barely even communities anymore. We're just like big masses of people. We're more economies than we are tribes. And there's a coldness inside of being a part of an economy. You know, you're just replaced very quickly. We're all just cogs in a big machine, and there's a bunch of cogs just like in a pile. So it's like anytime one falls off, it's just like, boop, put it back on. Boop, put it back on. It's like nothing, right? Like I said, like go back to a cashier. Like your job is really, anybody can do it. It's like you might like it and they might like you, but if you decide to leave, they fill your role immediately. And that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good at all. It feels good to be the only person who can do something. Like, you ever talk to somebody that works a job and they're like, oh, you know, I'm the only one that can do that. And how happy they are about that, you know? Oh, nobody else I do the job of like 4 different people. Nobody else does that. If I leave, they'll have to replace me with like 4 people. They're really happy about that. It's because they feel really valued, really needed. No one else will do what they do. You'll need multiple people to do what they do. Yeah. Yeah, that was such like a, like, and that's why all of these jobs feel so soul-sucking. Because you know that you're not exactly needed. You might be needed by your coworkers because they like talking to you. But even that, it's like, you ever left a job and then gone back and like people who you were like so close with, all of a sudden it's just like this cold, like, hey man, oh, what are you doing now? True. Yeah, you know, Jim's still the manager. Yeah, you know how he is. And it's like, it's not the same. It's because they've already filled you in, you know? Like, as soon as you left, they just kind of filled you in with other conversation and other talk. And there's something really sad to that. That doesn't happen in a tribe. A tribe that's really close-knit, if somebody passes away or somebody leaves, it's a thing. It's a big thing. Everybody wants to know where you went and why. And they'll mourn you. It doesn't happen anymore. Like, I'm reminded of, like, I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish community. And there were times where people would be like off the path, off the religious path. They'd be like, you know, addicted to drugs. They'd be in like really bad situations. And like people would like kind of conspire together to be like, hey, like, where's that guy? Like, find that guy. Let's find him. Let's pull him together. Like, I remember I had a friend where, you know, we were all like the community, like a group of his friends came together and they were like, I'm going to go check him from 6 a.m. until 1 p.m. and then I gotta go. And then somebody else is like, I'm gonna be there from, you know, 1:30 p.m. until like, you know, midnight. And then somebody else would like fill in the gap there. And then like I would come in like after my night shift job and I'd be there from like 6 a.m. to like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, they looked after their people because, you know, in the Jewish community, they still look at each other as a tribe. They still think of each other as tribe. So they come together and they take care of each other. You're needed. Nobody wants to see you just go off and disappear. Everybody wants you in the tribe. You're necessary. And there's something to that. There's really something to that. There's a brotherhood to that. There's fellowship to that. It's stronger than community. It's something else. But let's check out what else they got to say real quick before I hop off.
You know, that guy's got an island. You hear about people with an island, like, well, that's ultimate balling.
Yeah.
He's got a jet, got an island, got a boat, got a this, got a that. And you just, you know, Tyler Perry's obviously creative. I'm not talking about him. But when talking about someone who's a person who's just acquiring numbers, just acquiring currency. And then what's your reward? What do you get out of that? Maybe you get to play golf on the weekend. And what do you do when you play golf? You're talking about your objects and your things and the things you're acquiring. And, you know, have you seen the newest that? Oh, I'm trying to get one. I'm on the waiting list. You know, and that's where their good feelings come from. That is the subversion. That's the hijacking of those positive feelings of accomplishment, like you get when you're fishing. Like for them, it's accomplishing something even more difficult to get, like a yacht. And then it's just this trick, this biological trick that's forcing them to keep slaving away under fluorescent lights for 16 hours a day.
I mean, I don't know if we're...
Facts. Absolute facts. Anyways, guys, you know what this episode is. It's 1901, Stephen Pressfield, the Joe Rogan Experience. There's a link in the description. And if you liked this and you want more of this, hit that subscribe button. I'm out. Peace.